Now it looks like game number 3, the final game of the series, is now underway. And down in the bottom left corner of Cloud Kingdom, spawning as the blue Zerg, it's going to be alternate attacks Delphi. And up in the top right, from Team Startail, is going to be Bomber.
It's indeed, as Cloud Kingdom, our final map for this best of 3. So we are in and good to go here as Bomber. He showed in game number 2 that Delphi ain't no boss to him. He is going to be bringing out exactly what he wants to do. And he could mix it up once again, but the Banshee play was relatively successful. It was able to get a few kills from it. Now, I think more than anything, he tied up the economical position with his harassment more than anything. Maybe put himself in a little bit of a lead thanks to the Hellion harassment as well, killing off those 10 initial drones. And once he had that third command center up, he was flying from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to mess up when you've gotten such an economic lead. You can make 1 million SCVs, you've killed 1 million drones, and you have those mules, and doesn't everyone love complaining about mules? Oh, they give so much stuff.
They are very,
that
very
economy.
So for now, he is just opening up with that 1 barracks to begin with. No inklings of any kind of shenaniganry going down here from Bomber. No proxy barracks on the way. Meanwhile, we see Delphi actually going for that drone scout once again. He is not leaving anything to chance here, going up against Bomber. And from there on, he will be able to just head on into the Terran's base here and able to scout him out. And we already have the hatchery on the way for Delphi as well.
Yeah, I like that Delphi's not messing around at any point. It's easy to get a little over eager and try to do some sort of cheese, sticking to his standard stable play. And again, getting this early scout so he can sneak out 2 early drones.
Yep, so for now, and you know, again, from game 1, putting himself in that economical position, just every extra little drone this early on is extremely, extremely important. So Delphi providing himself with that nice little cushion there, and meanwhile he will spot that command center going down, so he knows exactly what Startail Bomber is going to be doing from the very get-go.
No gas yet from Delphi. Looks like he does favor those sort of early queen plays. Still not really any sort of information coming out of Bomber as to what his long-term plan is going to be, but it will be coming up in no time as he's just about to get that extra depot finished. So he'll either be adding on barracks, getting a single gas or double gas. It'll help give us a better idea.
Yep. Now, there are plenty of options, as you rightly point out. It's you know, the double barracks play or the double gas play first, able to really kind of ramp up that tech if he so desires. Again, I would love to see the double gas play to be able to just go for those Hellions once again. It worked for him in game number 2. Why fix what's not broken? And Cloud Kingdom is another map that allows you to be able to go for that kind of thing.
So it does look like Delphi is getting his early double queens up. Looking so good. Will he end up getting the 4 queen play up? And oh, look at this Bomber. This is the Bomber we know and love, going for the mega, 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 mega fast command center third. Not going to be doing any sort of messing around at all. He is just going straight for that. And will he go for the barracks follow-up? That would most generally be what we'd see out of him. Still no read on what he wants to be doing yet.
Yep. And he is keeping in 1 SCV down to the bottom right-hand corner to be able to scout out maybe the potential timing of a third, or even the potential like drone saturation at the natural to see whether or not his opponent's going to end up doing some aggression later on. There's tons of things and tons of timings he can use that SCV for. And meanwhile, Bomber making his decisions.
Yeah, I do like this triple barracks play out of Bomber. I mean, so often it's easy to get distracted by all the fun craziness that you can do with your tanks, Banshees, Hellions, this sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you want to be going for Marine Marauder as your core mix. You don't want to be doing anything too crazy that deviates too far away from it, or else you'll just end up screwing yourself over.
I mean, you're right. I mean,
your opponent comes in. I mean, that's honestly how he ended up losing in the last game. He just got too many things that weren't basic Marine Marauder, and then the Roach Baneling attack just won right off the bat.
Yeah, did indeed. And as we were alluding to earlier, Startail Bomber using that SCV to be able to spot that third, and even throwing down the bunker once again. And there's not going to be too much to notice this. Delphi is sending some queens straight over there, though, despite not seeing this bunker just yet. Oh no, he has seen it with just the tip of the Overlord. Fantastic.
Oh, that's going to be really nice for Delphi. A nice little win. He's now floating in here. And if you're Delphi and you pop in here and you don't see the third command center, you're going to get real suspicious real fast. you're especially going to be thinking that there is a big attack about to happen right off the bat. And there it looks like we see a bunch of Marines that are going to get completely shut down. This is going to turn out very nicely for Delphi in terms of his third base, but not so nicely in terms of the amount of larva he spent on those on these little Zerglings. No matter what, you never really want to be overlinging in this position in a game.
Oh, you're entirely right. But look what we have in the production tab right now. Delphi throwing down that Baneling Nest as well as getting a flurry of Zerglings out extra here. So he might get very, very aggressive off this situation that he finds himself in. And as such, Bomber is throwing down an extra bunker. I don't think he's scouted out the Baneling Nest or anything just yet. But from here, I mean, Delphi still has options. He could still transfer into a macro game after trying putting on some aggression.
You know, I'm kind of torn on this move by Bomber. I mean, he's going for the 3 barracks. That's great. Wants to maybe get a little bit aggressive. Wants to do a little bit of attacking, but now he's backing up and he's getting these double engineering bays. I mean, I almost feel like if you're getting stim this early, you want to be following it up with a faster factory. I mean, what do you think?
I think it can lend itself very nicely to that kind of play. Right now, he still doesn't know what is going on, so if he was able to get tanks out a little bit quicker, then it would have been fantastic against this aggression that we're seeing from Delphi right now. But he still has no clue. He's had no map presence for the entire 2 minutes.
Oh, Delphi is going to be walking right into a trap. Oh, no, he has to kill off so many depots, and now we see all the SCVs able to walk into position unless these are some huge detonations. It is going to be lights out for Delphi's attack. There he manages to bust down a single bunker. Bunker number 2 falls, but it looks like more than enough defense ended up staying alive for the Terran.
Yeah, that's very true. A nice little play there by Bomber, preparing himself, sensing that something was up without having too much intel on it. But for now, with those Banelings once again morphing in, he still needs to keep bolstering this defense because the second wave could potentially come along and do some damage.
You have 14, 15 Banelings coming out right now for Delphi. It looks like Bomber instantly repairs that. Siege mode is a few seconds from being done, and it looks like it will not be quite done in time. And here it comes, perhaps a supply block for Bomber, as we see Boom manages to knock down the front, and the tank gets a big hit on that back line. But both the bunkers fall, and once again we see Bomber in a little bit of a tight spot, but no, too many Marines out for Bomber, and shuts down the attack.
Yeah, very, very true. His macro holding up there to be able to keep that going. He did lose 16 workers during the entirety of this, so he is right now down to 38 against the 45, but Terran is probably feeling quite comfortable in that situation. Delphi hasn't been droning up too aggressively, but now is going to start kicking it into hyperdrive with 13 drones in production.
He's going to have to go crazy with the drone production. I mean, he has not had any sort of drone infrastructure for ages. He's been pretty much just trying to do an attack, maybe trying to do a defense. There's not really a clear through line, not really a clear plan for Delphi at this point. Now he's finally getting into that more Stefano-esque Zergling and Fester play. In the meantime, if you're Bomber, you're happy. All that attack really did was delay the status of the game. Nothing really changed too much for either player, except now Bomber got his upgrades done.
Do you think that if Delphi had fully committed, and not just gone kind of middle of the road with that aggression, then he would have been able to potentially break Bomber? Or do you think that the defensive structure was too much?
I mean, the defensive structure was just, honestly, I think perfect. But, I mean, if you're going to do that attack, you've got to make sure that you do a huge attack. You can't just, I'm going to dabble in little things. You don't want to be a jack of all trades in StarCraft 2. You want to be really good at one thing in each game generally, and that is what will get you in good places. Bomber right now focusing in all late game. And this is an unusual timing attack window that he's managed to seize because his opponent's in a weak spot.
Yeah, he is. He's been droning this entire time. Admittedly, he does have a few Zerglings in production now after seeing this initial push out, but he could be a little bit late here.
He doesn't see the push.
Oh.
I don't think he sees it at all. This is the first sighting that he has had of it. He has only 5 Banelings, and there the tanks are sieging up. This could be nice for Delphi. Will help him buy just a little bit more time, but Delphi's going to have to go into real hero defense mode.
Yes, indeed, as those Marines push forward, killing off a Queen, which is nice, limiting that lava, but it's not going to matter if the hatchery ends up falling anyway here. Some Zerglings swinging into the back to try and get a little bit of a double-pronged attack here.
Oh, and it's an only Zergling defense by Delphi. He manages to sweep and pick off a lot of the Marines at the front, but no Banelings manage to connect with really anything, and there he kills off 1 tank, not 2. 1 still is alive. In the meantime, Bomber's now taking himself a 3rd base. And look at this play. I love this, Kalaris. He's just pulling back This is still a beautiful response there by Bomber. He knows that he couldn't possibly win with that attack, but he did plenty of damage.
Yeah, and it's not even, it doesn't even have to be full direct damage. Yes, he killed the Queen and he killed a lot of Zerglings, but importantly, he wasted so much lava of his opponents.
Yeah.
Committing to those Zerglings that he may not have wanted to commit to at that point in time.
The tank gets out with 4 hit points. Delphi was trying to target fire it with his last tapering bit of reinforcements, but didn't manage to connect. And Delphi, I think, also doing an interesting response in his own right, saying, you know what? I think I'm behind in almost every regard, but my opponent ain't going to be attacking me anytime soon. So I'm going to double expand. I'm going to hive immediately. I'm going to completely skip out on infestors. I think that's a brilliant play by Delphi, but tragically, he sees the 3rd up.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we're seeing the hive at this time by Delphi. A lot of Zergs nowadays are adopting a style of very, very quick hives, even 11-minute hives from time to time from people like Vortex and Sortov sometimes. So Delphi just sticking with a little bit of a later hive, but considering how the game flow's gone, it's not necessarily too early, late anyway.
Yeah, he desperately needs to just start pumping these full of gas mining drones. We are seeing the huge swell in drone count from Delphi, but this is a really, really awkward timing. Excuse me, and also a very risky timing coming out for Delphi, but I think you actually have to take risks if you're in this position. Bomber doing kind of a weird move, moving out with 2 medevacs at once, while not really having enough Marines to mount a ground offensive. He's literally hoping to do straight damage with these attacks.
And will these Banelings be able to spot the medevac now? They do, but does Delphi see that on his minimap is the question. Meanwhile, the drop down to the bottom right-hand corner hasn't been spotted as of yet. There was one Ling burrowed at the 4th location for a base here for Bomber, but it hasn't actually spotted that. Now the creep spots it, and I don't know how much this is going to do at this point.
Oh, it looks like Bomber does manage to spot the expansion on the left. Moving out with a push in the middle, but there's some burrowed Banelings that can be planted at the right side, but Delphi needs to hurry up. No, he misses his opportunity. The drop is planting down at the left position.
Oh, this is going to stretch Delphi very, very thinly here by the looks of things. The drop in the main now also going down. He's going to try and target down the spawning pool, going for big damage whilst Adrenal Glands is researching. Zergling's on the way to try and defend this as best they can do, but with those Banelings more rolling in, he's going to have to pick that up very, very quickly.
And that's a very nice little land there for Delphi. He's going to buy himself a good chunk of time now. Bomber sweeping around to the 3rd base. Will be able to also get a pick off at the 4th base, but that drop that was at the left expansion has moved to the natural, and Delphi is just being pulled every which way.
Oh, he really is. Look at this position he's established down to the south with these siege tanks. How are you going to break that at this point when you're being dropped on so many fronts? Bomber is really, really ramping it up here in terms of stretching Delphi so much, and I don't know how Delphi is going to be able to deal with this.
Bomber creating problems both for Delphi and the Observer, trying to keep track of literally all the action that's going on in this game. There's medevacs just floating every which way on this map. And again, Bomber doing these great retreats. I love this so much. He does huge damage and pulls back to make for sure his reinforcements can join together.
Yeah, in total thus far, he has killed 18 workers. Delphi still is at 84, but with the 3rd base, 4th base even still being shut down over and over and over, and the 4th and 5th being killed off completely, how is he able to really get his economy in a position where he can continue to deal with the aggression of Bomber?
2 Marines making a pretty reasonable stand against a single Ultralist at the left expansion.
Pretty impressive, pretty impressive.
And again, Bomber has managed to find himself a nearly perfectly defensible position on the right. But this is a good opportunity for Delphi. Delphi now starting to realize, well, wait, if your whole army is nestled away in an unattackable location, then your expansions are totally vulnerable as well. This is a very tank-heavy army in the top left, but still a very breakable position. Bomber's forces are completely split, Kalaris.
They really are, and he could, yeah, as you said, he could take advantage of that.
Burrow Banelings do a nice hit at the left.
Oh.
And there's the siege up, the late siege up. Oh my God, is Bomber really going to lose all of these tanks?
They end up doing so. These Zerglings on Ultralisk is able to do quite a bit of damage here, but they end up suddenly instantaneously dying. He was focusing those down quite nicely with the Zerglings focusing down.
No, Delphi just lost all those infestors for virtually nothing. Bomber will not end up losing these tanks, it appears. And down in the bottom left, Bomber has denied those expansions yet again. The straightforward, stable play of Bomber is just giving a world of trouble to Delphi.
Really is this drop here. Does Delphi have enough to deal with it? He has 5 Ultralisks out on the map, but they're in the middle of the map right now, trying to deal with the siege tanks at that location. And with the Ultralisks waddling in here to try and deal with that, as well as the Zerglings cleaning up the tanks on the low ground, there's still, regardless of this push, another push on the way to the 5th base of Delphi.
Oh gosh, Bomber is playing magnificently in this late game. The pool has been killed off in the main base, no Ling reinforcements. Delphi trying to catch up. After a flubbed game number 1, Bomber is just bringing standard play to a whole new level, hitting every location possible at once, even having a tank sieged up in the main with 19 kills under its belt. The Hive now getting ready to fall down. Looking at the minimap, Delphi is spread out everywhere and yet has hardly any units. 55 drones, and there's a good game well played.
Wow. That was a heck of a series to kick things off here. That